Another edition of Social Media News Live. So glad that you guys all are here with us. We're going to have a great show today. We're talking all about solopreneurs, and I will surely mess up that name many, many times as we go through the show today. Lou Mongello is here. Good. He's a fan of the show. He's a friend of the show. I'm a big fan of Lou. He doesn't know that. It's not going to be a Lou commercial, I promise. Connor Brown, how are you doing today? You're here to set us straight.
Well, I don't know about that. I guess I'll try my best. I'm great. I mentioned last night to Jeff, apologies for my voice. It's a bit hoarse. 2 nights ago, I was rocking a little too hard at the Cheap Trick Journey Def Leppard concert here in Orlando. They all still got it. Happy to report.
That is really cool. That is really cool. I'm excited. So a big music fan is in the house watching over on YouTube. Chris Stone from Cast Ahead says, beautiful people of planet Earth. I'm hoping so. And by the way, Chris Stone just has a brand spanking new website over at Cast Ahead. Chris, drop that link in there. He does amazing video work and remote producing. So guys, go check out his new website. It is pretty cool. I checked it out over the weekend. So we are going to go ahead and start the show. Connor, are you all ready to get going?
I'm ready to rock.
All right, here we go. I'll hit go on the podcast machine and we'll get started. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Connor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to successfully navigate the journey of a solopreneur? Are you eager to uncover the keys to transforming your passion into a thriving business? Or maybe you're on the lookout for practical advice to turn your dream job into a reality. If those questions sound familiar, you're in the right place. Today we have an exciting guest who has mastered this journey. He has turned his love for helping others into a comprehensive guide for solopreneurs. Lou Mongello will be sharing his insights, his story, and his tips for achieving solopreneur success. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Social Media News Live. Lou, how you doing today?
Guys, good to see you. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting because this is going to be so much fun. We've got our friends already popping in the house. Rich Watts is saying, good morning, Jeff, Lou, and Connor. Lay some knowledge on me. Oh, we will not disappoint today, Rich. Thank you for popping by. Gary is in the house as well saying, good morning, you lovely people. Thanks, Gary. And by the way, here's Cast Ahead saying, Dr. C, castahead.net. Go check him out. Chris Stone, amazing new website. Andrea is here as well saying hello to you as well. So this is going to be a fun show. So we're going to, start it off. We're going to be talking about what it takes to be a entrepreneur as a solopreneur by yourself. Lou has done that. And we're going to talk about his brand new course, The Blueprint for Solopreneur Success. You can find it at loumongello.com. Make sure you go check that out there. I think there's a pop-up that comes right up on the screen there, but it's only $7. It's amazing. It's got some worksheets. So make sure you guys go check that out at loumongello.com. And Lou, I want to ask you, first of all, why did you create this course?
Well, to be honest, Jeff, this course is like 10 years in the making. Not that it took me 10 years to develop a course, but finally took me 10 years to wrap my mind around. I always knew that I needed to do a course, or a course is, but I think especially for those of us who are solopreneurs and entrepreneurs and creators, things have to just happen for you at the right time. And it took me a long time to sort of wrap my head around not just what I wanted to do, but the way I wanted to do it. And so this is sort of the first iteration of something that's going to let me hopefully reach and help a lot of people a little bit more at scale.
Yeah. So I think, hey, my camera's going, but I'll let you go, Connor. Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably for the best if we're all, being honest with ourselves here. Lou, I already signed up for it. I loved it. I love how it's not overwhelming, right? It's intentionally set up over a course of a number of days. So you just get one email each day, and all your job is to open the email each day and kind of follow along with that. You're not overwhelmed with so much information all at once. So I like how it's spread out like that. But can you kind of walk through just the structure of the course and what participants can kind of expect to learn each day with each new email that they get?
Yeah, and thank you for the feedback. I really appreciate it because honestly, kind of this is sort of me dipping my toe into the course creation water. So this is not just a learning experience that I want to have for others, but a learning experience for myself as well. So as a creator, I didn't want to overwhelm myself building my
Yeah.
first course. And for somebody who was taking it, I think we've all probably signed up for courses and you're just inundated with 20 lessons, 30 hours of video lessons. Like the course completion percentage is often relatively low because it is overwhelming. You sort of have to you know feel like you have to sort of eat the whole elephant. So by trickling it out day by day, you're right. You don't feel overwhelmed, and it's more than just meant to be sort of a roadmap to help you ideate and create and then launch whatever your thing is, right? Your passion into your profession. But I want to sort of give you like Lego building blocks to help you sort of build the foundation off of that. So it's about figuring out what your passion is, right? To use a Disneyism, like what's your little one little spark of inspiration, and then what sets you apart? What is your differentiator? What's your mission statement? Like what is your
Yep.
why? Why are you doing this? What's your story? And then we work on things like your strategy and building your foundation, and then actually launching whatever that thing is, whether it is a product, a service, a book, a course, account, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to dive into is when you said, you know, identifying one's why. Like, how do I know you have with this course? Like, I think every day has a worksheet that you go download and you work on. How does identifying that why that you just talked about play that crucial role in the success of a solopreneur? Like, what? I mean, because my why seems to change sometimes. Like, I mean, you know, like, let's dig into that a little bit because, like, how does your course help kind of nail that down for people?
Well, I think your why is important for a lot of reasons, right? Because we don't want this to be a job, right? We want to do something that we love. But I think it's especially when, let me take a step back. What we do is not what you see on Instagram, right? It is not just it's not just Disney cruises and like trips to the boathouse and things like that. Like there's a lot of like sacrifice and hard work that you don't see behind the scenes. And your why is what is going to power you through that. But I think it's a matter really of figuring that intersection of the thing that you love, like the thing that you're good at, and then brainstorming what sort of business idea can come from it. Because if you're trying to just follow a trend or do what's popular or do what you think is going to be the, quick road to making money,
Right.
like those are bad whys. Like that should not be why. Your why should be like, you know what, man? Because I freaking love Disney World. Like that's like that's my why.
Right.
Like that is my why.
So I want to keep digging down this for a little bit because, do you get tired of Disney? Like my thing is like, find your why, find your passion. If once you do your passion, you'll never work another day in your life. And sometimes that can be like this, what we're doing now didn't exist. Like, 10, 20 years ago. Like in high school, I didn't say, I want to be a live streamer and a marketer. That just wasn't there. So do you dive into what you like to do and then kind of navigate that current inside of your why? Is that kind of what when you're talking about finding your why? Because it's like, I want to be, a YouTuber really isn't a why, I guess,
Right.
is what I'm saying.
How do you not let your why alienate your passion too? Because I think so often, sometimes you find what you love and you do, you'll never work a day in your life, but you also kind of want to make sure that also, don't make the thing that you love feel like work and alienated by that.
Well, I think sometimes our why, we define it one way, and then as time goes on, we come to, I think, to a little bit more clarity. So if you would have asked me 19 years ago when I started this, what is your why? Well, because I love Disney World, right? I want to help people have a better Disney vacation. If you ask me now, right, and sort of with hindsight being 2020, and because of where I am in terms of what I do on the Disney stuff and the business stuff, I think my why is like I just genuinely like helping people, right? And on the Disney side, it's funny because I'll have conversations with people like, well, what's your exit strategy? I'm like, I don't know, death. Like, I don't have an exit strategy. But the day it stops being fun, guys, is the day I stop doing it. Like, that's my exit strategy. So I genuinely love what I do. I love helping people. And the reason why I'm doing the courses and momentum and all this kind of thing is because I want to help people feel the same way that I do. When I get up in the morning about the work that I'm doing, and the thing that keeps me up late at night on, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, when like
Right.
every night of the week, because I just genuinely enjoy it.
Mm,
Yeah, I think
that's cool.
that's awesome. It's like almost at the beginning of the year, you should reevaluate your why, right?
Mhm.
And just as you tweak it just a little bit here or there, that sets you up for how you're going to focus that year, you know? And I also think like your why is good for when you do say, why? Why? Right? When you're frustrated and you're down
Yeah.
and you're working
Why?
hard and you're like,
Yeah.
why? What's the point? When you say that, then go, well, this is why. This is what it is. Gary has a great comment here. He says the guy who invented MySpace, Tom, I believe I was a friend with him on MySpace. I don't know if everyone else was with him, but I
Yeah.
definitely was. Sold it for $570 million and retired so he could devote his time to his passion for photography. So it's kind of like this thing of, are you getting into something to get you to your passion, or are you doing something so that you continue your
Mm,
passion for
yeah.
forever? You know, I think that that's a question everyone has to ask yourself. But it of course starts with how you start. So, Lou, what are some common challenges that solopreneurs face when they're starting out? So many people have an idea, but they might not know how to take it to market, or how to
Mhm.
market it, or sell it, or set up the processes that need to occur for that. So, what are some just common challenges they face right when they're starting out? And then also talk a little bit about how your course helps those people navigate those types of challenges.
Well, I think in identifying not just your own why and answering your own why for yourself, I think you also, one of the next logical questions in my opinion is why you, right? We are
Yeah.
in a very crowded space where we all have the blessing of anybody can be a publisher, anybody can be a creator, anybody can be a YouTuber, podcast, whatever it might be. So what is it that sets you apart, right? Why should I choose you over the tens, hundreds of thousands of other people that are maybe doing something similar to what you do? And that's why figuring out, okay, who am I serving? Why me? What is the value? Like, you have to sort of answer the question, I do X for these people so that they can Y. Like, once
Yeah.
you're able to fill in those blanks, you have a very sort of clear mission statement, not just for yourself, but for the people that you are trying to serve. From that, you build out what your story is, figure out who your target audience is, and then start to make it a more concrete, business model and structured plan.
Yeah. Well, I know I mentioned that there's like worksheets that go with it, and they're not just like, you see some of those courses where they're making a worksheet just to make a worksheet. These are some deep stuff that you just don't sit there and scribble out. Like, you work through them. You go and it takes some thought. Like, you're gonna be like, oh crap, there's another email tomorrow. I gotta get this done. I mean, but I mean, it's good stuff. There's a lot of things that I've seen from going to Momentum, where we have a really thick workbook that you have distilled and really, built upon to help us get focused on this part of the business. So I think it's really, really, really cool. And by the way, I'll just mention it one more time that you guys can go to loumongello.com, and it's $7. I mean, it's a 5-day course, and it's really, really, really cool. So I would highly suggest you guys go check that out at loumongello.com. On that note, so this is like, what is it? This second month of this course? You started it last month.
Yeah.
Do you have any like good success stories or feedback that you've gotten from people who that you've helped with this course? Have you got people going like, "Hey, Lou, you helped me do this, this, and this"?
Yeah, like, there's nothing like, I'm not in this for the $7, right? It's not
Right.
about this. But when you get somebody who emails me and is like, "This is life changing. This is just the thing that I needed at just the right time," and I've bought other courses before and I just can't get through all of it. We're here. It is accessible. I have a specific goal in mind that I know I'm going to reach in, like, it's the reason why I do it that way, guys, is so that you don't have to sort of get overwhelmed by sort of opening up this big book. You get these sort of bite-sized lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and then these worksheets that you can and should do. Like, I don't want you, I mean, you can if you want to, but I don't want you to sort of look at all 5 days right at the beginning, right? There's a
Right.
logical process that I want to take you through. And you're right. The worksheets are meant to really be very thought provoking and have you take the time, because each one is going to be, again, that Lego brick that you build the foundation of the next step on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, like I said, I love the idea of an email course. I think they're really cool. Everybody has an email inbox, so it's really easy. They don't have to go and log into a course. They don't have to watch a video, but it's there. It's got the resources. So once again, highly recommend it. Really, really cool. By the way, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, this show is brought to you by our friends over at Ecamm. You can find out more about them at ecamm.com/Jeff. By the way, they have their summer sale going on right now. If you use the code 24July30, that's 24July30, you can get 30% off your first payment with that promo code. So ecamm.com/Jeff, 30% off, 24July30. Make sure you do that. And also, we've got this really cool thing called Creator Camp coming up. Lou is going to be there. Connor's going to be there. I'm going to be speaking there along with my pal Ian Anderson. Great. I'm going to be there. But it is unfortunately sold out. But the thing is, there is a contest where you can have a chance to win a ticket to Creator Camp. If you go to jeffc.com/win, you can enter to win a ticket to this amazing camp. jeffc.com/win. I'm going to be giving away a secret code at the end of the show for even more entries. So stay tuned for that. Alrighty. So let's jump into this next section because I want to talk about, entrepreneur is one thing. Solopreneur is a totally different thing, which is doing it all yourself, which sometimes is not recommended. You should build a team, I think. Even Lou will say he gets help for some things. But I have seen Lou's slide at Momentum about all the different places where money comes in and how he has all these projects. And that can be overwhelming when you first make the leap into being a solopreneur. There's a lot of stuff you've got to do. So I wanted to talk about some of the key strategies and tools for solopreneurs. So I asked this question inside of actually Lou's private group for Momentum, the hub, and Lindsay asked, Lou, if you only had 1 hour a day to work on your business, what would you do during that hour?
Snack.
Yeah, lots of high calorie snacks. Yes.
I would carb load for the next day.
Yeah.
If I only had 1 hour to work on my business, well, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting question, and I'm happy actually that you brought up that slide, right? My hub and spoke, and sort of the different ways I monetize, because I'm going to address that and talk about that at Momentum this year. And spoiler alert, like I think to sort of start to answer this question, you need to do less better, right? It's not about this shotgun approach to trying to do everything all at once in the hope that something sticks. It's figuring out like who you are, who you serve, the thing that you're good at, and going sort of all in on that one thing. The idea of sort of being everywhere I don't think flies anymore, because there are too many places to be and the attention is spread too thin. So I would figure out the one thing that I would want to work on, which would probably be my podcast, right? The podcast and the community are the heart and soul respectively of what I do. And that's what I would spend my time on.
I love that. In the immortal words of one of my heroes, Ron Swanson, he says, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. And I live by that. And it's so easy, especially I think for solopreneurs. Solopreneurs so often start out with having a day job, with having a full family life that they have to balance, with having all this personal stuff that they have to deal with. So they're fitting in this kind of business, whatever it might be, into that life that's already established. So having that 1 hour is really, really crucial, and you have to capitalize on it. You don't want to be pulled in a million things because you're not going to really focus on anything at all. So I love that advice. And Lindsay asks another great question in the hub. She says, if you, Lou, were starting from scratch right now, no following, nothing, what would you do? How would you start? What social media platform would you start on? And what products would you start to build? So if you're going from scratch, what are you doing?
So I still think that podcasting has the greatest potential for not just building community and building relationships, and I think growing a following. I think it's easy is the wrong word. I think there's greater opportunity to be a bigger fish in a small pond in the podcasting space than I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and hopefully people can find me out of the 7 billion other YouTube channels that are out there. So I would build a podcast, I would create a community around it, and my email list, all of which are directly connected to one another. Those are the three. I very much, let me hide my phone so nobody's listening. Like I hate, the building our houses on rented land and being, having to try and navigate ever-changing algorithms on whatever platform it is. Find your platform where your people are. Like I love Facebook because I love having a Facebook group because that's where my community lives. I love Instagram for different reasons. I like LinkedIn for other reasons, but I think finding the one, maybe the two platforms that speak to where your audience is about the things that you're talking about is better than trying to, again, shotgun approach to every social platform out there.
Yeah, I love that. So one of the things, and doing research on you, which is a little creepy, but I did it anyway. We see the Lou Mongello as the big OG podcaster who has been doing it for years. And I love, because I think this is important for solopreneurs to understand. There's usually, for those people who are successful, the one kind of pillar product that they have, which for Lou is podcasting, and then stuff flows out from that. Like that's just kind of the way it works. If you look at most people, like even Pat Flynn started as a podcast, and then he's grown in his industry from that. But you don't do it all at once. And a lot of times we look at people like you, Lou, and like, oh my gosh, he's got gajillion downloads, and he's sitting down with Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel, and he's got all these famous people calling him on the phone, and he's getting all these free trips and yada, yada, yada. But it didn't start that way. Like the podcasting wasn't even first. You started with a book, right? And then you went to a podcast, and the book, website, then podcast. Right. And that's a process. And we want to jump in line, but a lot of times we can't do that. And I think that's one thing that I would like to, you to talk about a little bit, about having that pillar product. And you mentioned focusing on one thing, but that it doesn't happen overnight. Like, I think Chris Brogan said, like, it was an overnight success and it only took me 15 years or something like that. So, I mean, do you struggle when you get up in front and talk to people about starting your own business, that to getting across it takes time? Like, you didn't jump ship and start, leave your law practice until after you wrote the book and you saw some success. You didn't just quit and go, I'm going to Disney, right? You saw no,
I literally said I quit and I said I'm going to Disney. But
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but you don't advise that. That's what I'm saying.
Right. You take a leap of faith, but make sure you have a parachute. It's funny. If like at Momentum and like events, like I always have stuff to give away, right? I always have like little stuff to give away. And usually at the end of Momentum, I have something that represents for me, the overarching theme. I think this year I'm going to give away like blinders, like horse blinders.
That's right.
Because that's really what you need to have on, because we are so sometimes distracted with the apparent success or progress of where other people are that we measure ourselves against it, and we shouldn't. Their journey is, one, vastly different than yours, even if you're in the same space. Two, the timing might be different. Like they may have started 20 years ago and you might just be starting now. And it is a process and it's a grind, man. Like you guys know this. Like, we work, what's the saying? We work 80 hours a week, so we don't have to work 40 hours a week. Like I work 100 hours a week, so I don't have to work 40 hours a week. I love it. But if we start looking at where other people are, all of a sudden the questioning starts to come in. Well, what am I doing wrong? Do people not like me? The imposter syndrome, starts to say, maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should start a cupcake blog because cupcakes are really popular. Like you have to sort of stay very hyper focused. Like do your one thing. Like what is the thing that you want to be known for? That's the question you have to ask yourself. What do I want to be known for? Focus on that one thing, like laser focused, and go down that path. It may be somewhat circuitous, but if you start with that, with your why behind you, and know that thing you want to be known for, it'll help sort of keep some of the other distractions and people who could be distractions out of the way.
It's your guiding light. And I think the biggest thing that especially social media brings too is trying to compare your chapter to somebody else's chapter, where you don't know how far in the book they are, how far you are in the book. The president of my college, a guy named Nito Quabain, he had this quote that said, your present circumstances don't dictate where you will end up. They merely dictate where you start. And that's all it is, right? It's just you're starting right now. It doesn't mean you're not going to get to the end where where you want to be. It just means this is where you're going to start. And another great one, the Walt Disney said, quit thinking, quit talking, start doing.
See, right here,
right?
I have it on the challenge going right here. See, I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
I think Rich asked a great question too, talking about bringing people on. So he's basically saying, does bringing others, meaning like someone to help you to alleviate tasks, to give them things to do, does bringing others into the fold to maintain your day-to-day business allow you to invest energy on the forward direction of the business and thus sustain your passion? So it's kind of like you have this passion, the little kind of day-to-day things might be wearing you down. Is bringing someone in to do that really just so that you can continue on your passion and sustain your energy?
So I'm going to qualify this because somebody's watching who knows me, like, do as I say, not as I do, right? Like, I preach all the time, get help. Do the things that you are uniquely qualified to do and the things that you freaking love to, like, if it's not hell yes, it should be hell no. Like, do the things that you love to do and that are good at doing. And you can offload some of the other tasks. And sometimes you're like, well, I don't have the money, I'm not generating revenue. That's why if you build good community, like, you can find people who want to help you because they want to be part of what you're doing. Like, if this is obviously on a much greater, if Kevin Feige was like, hey Lou, do you want to come to the set of the next movie and just help, like, grab coffee? Like, of course I would. Like, I would pay to do it. Your audience, again, if you have a true, meaningfully, like, good community, they would want to do that for you. So maybe you need somebody to help you with social media stuff or writing articles. You'd be surprised how many people would want to volunteer. Do what you are good at. Do the things that you love doing so that it frees you up to, like, focus on the things that are going to move the business forward while taking away some of the time-consuming tasks that you don't love, or maybe that you're not very good at. Like, when I started to, and we, I think I'll speak for myself, like, we as solopreneurs, this is our baby, right? Like, we've built this from its infancy. So we're sometimes reluctant to let some of those things go. Well, it's just easier if I do it myself. The time it would take me to explain it to so-and-so, I could just get it done easier myself. We have to sort of get out of that mindset and get out of our own way, because otherwise we will plateau. We could only scale ourselves so large before we need help from others.
Yeah, the best thing that I have ever done, well, first of all, I've been in masterminds. That has changed everything. The second one is I hired Shannon Hernandez to help me with my podcast, my podcasting clients. And then I just recently, last year, hired my daughter to do a lot of this stuff. I mean, you're right. A lot of it's like, I got to take time to train. But once you do it, you're like, why didn't I do this before? Because she's taking care of a lot of the repurposing that we're doing. She's doing a great job. She's able to travel with me and be able to do stuff together. I mean, I just wish I would have done it earlier. Of course, she would have been younger, and that would have been weird taking her out of school. But it's so much of a blessing to have that and have that person that I can hand off stuff to do that I can trust to take care of it. So it's very, very cool.
Trust is a big word. Trust is a big word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know. That's finding those people that you really trust. Like, Shannon's been doing the podcast for me for over 3 years. And, like, I don't even think about it. Like, and that is such another blessing that, like, once you have those people, hold on to them. Like, do what you need to work with them and keep them going with you. So,
and start small. Like, start with little projects. Like, start with little things and then see how it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Lou. Start with little projects and just see what happens.
I'm on the road to recovery. Don't worry.
So, Ian Anderson Gray says, comparison is the thief of joy, and it likes to rear its ugly head at the strangest of times. So true, Ian. That is very, very true. Okay. And Katie really liked, what do I want to be known for? That's something that a lot of people want to, need to think about. Like, what do you want to be known for? I don't really want to be known for a live streamer. I would love to be. I love doing this show. I want to be known for, like, engaging people in the comments. That's what I like to do. It's just fun to me. And speaking of that, Mr. Fred, hey there, Lou. If there was one thing that has your attention to keep an eye on for opportunities, what would it be?
One thing that has my attention to keep my eye on for opportunities. So I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to lean back into podcasting again. And I know podcasting has a sort of weird cycle of it's the next big hot thing, and then nobody's listening to podcasting, and then all of a sudden, you hear about all this advertising dollars going to podcasting. I still believe that it is not just the most intimate medium, right? I talk about it all the time that I think we're in the relationship business. I think podcasting is a great way to make one-on-one relationships with your audience at scale because of the intimacy of it, right? When you're talking to the one person that's listening, I mean, hopefully more than one person listening, but metaphorically, the one person that's listening to your show. So I still think that there is great opportunity there to build a platform, like gain reputation, gain exposure, build community, monetize through podcasting, especially now. I mean, pretty much all of the podcasting platforms now have monetization options built in. So you don't have to worry about, literally and metaphorically knocking on doors to try and find sponsors. They will help do it for you. So I think there's great, and especially now with, you don't have to do it, but if you're using video in your podcast, getting the exposure via YouTube and other platforms as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I want to ask a follow-up question around that because you've always said, for years it's the most intimate medium. You're putting headphones in to listen to someone. I totally agree with that. But as podcast kind of transitions or evolves into this incorporating video more and more and more, and so many podcasts out there are video first podcasts that also have an audio component, how do you see that changing the podcast landscape? And I know you've dabbled a little bit in using video as a promotional tool, not necessarily recording the entirety of it to watch as a podcast. But how do you, I guess, Lou, see where it's going with video and podcasting, and how do you balance that fine line from where you've been as an audio first podcast?
Yeah, depending on what statistics you read and believe, some people say that YouTube is the number one podcast consumption platform. That may or may not be true, but whatever it is, it is the 800-pound gorilla in the mix. And I think what this does is twofold. I think it presents opportunity, right? So if you want to record video, you have an opportunity for people to, if you're not a podcast consumer, it is very hard to be like, oh, I have a podcast. You should start listening to podcasts, because maybe that's not the way you consume content. You don't listen in your headphones as you're walking or on the treadmill or at the gym or in your car. So if you don't listen to podcasts that way, there's a good chance if you're audio only, people might not find you. What YouTube does is opens the door to a completely new audience that they might not sit there and watch, talking heads or whatever it might be for however long your show is, but they put it on their living room TV or in the kitchen and they listen in the background while they're doing other things. You become part of the routine, as podcasting does. But I also think that sometimes intimidates people. Like, wait, whoa. Like, I like podcasting because, look at my face. I don't want to do video. You
Right.
don't have to. I think it's important to be clear. Like, while yes, video podcasting is huge and is only going to continue to grow, it should not be a barrier to you entering the podcast space. If you want to do audio only, do audio only. Like, you don't have to do one in order to do the other.
Yeah, I have a face for Photoshop, so that's what I always tell people. But I've always done video first, but podcasting has always been a component of it. Like, even back in the, here we go, Chris Stone, Google Plus days, I started that, and I was always as a podcast. And in fact, you can even go back and listen to Manly Pinterest Tips podcast show back in the day. But I just like it because, it's, like you said, Lou, it's another place for people to do content. But some people will never, ever be comfortable with video, and that's okay. I think it's perfectly, you need to have that pillar piece of content that you're putting out there, and that's podcasting.
And I think video too is intimidating. Like, oh, I don't want to start editing video, and I don't have the technology, I don't have the camera, I don't have the light. You don't need that. So, for example, for me, like, most of my shows I'll record here, like in the home studio, and I'll have people on video, and I'll be able to take clips, but I do like pre and post stuff and like trivia stuff secondary to that. So I can't necessarily produce a video to upload.
Right.
All of the podcast platforms now, you can upload audio and it will push it out to YouTube. So you'll have a video podcast with a static image, but people can still find, like, it's a great discovery tool. They can find you there. They can put it up on the TV and listen in the background. So again, don't let the fear of video from either a face perspective or a technology perspective make you feel like you can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spotify just came out with some new stats about video podcasting, and that's growing, and I think everybody has access to it now. So it's just, yeah, like you said, it's continuing to grow. I just do it because it's easy and it's another piece of content, because that's the way we've done it. But don't be me. What were you going to say, Connor?
Well, I was just going to say, Gary says, I have a face for radio, as my mother would say. I've been told that I, too, have a face for radio, but I also have a voice for newspaper, which I'm not sure.
But you also have a podcast at Vacation Kingdoms, right?
I do, right. And since I've relaunched it, I've done it as a video podcast as well, because I found that how's it going to be the easiest for me? And for that, it's firing up this web camera that I'm looking into right now, recording right into it using Ecamm's record feature, and then editing it video first, and then just taking the audio file from that and uploading it as audio and to YouTube. So it's kind of like, what is going to, one, work best for you that you're comfortable with, but also two, how's it going to be easy? What is going to be the process that has the least amount of barriers that help you to not just say, I'll do it later. I'll do it later to procrastinate something is usually when it's super time consuming, when there's a lot of effort involved in it. I try to make it just as simple as possible so that I can remain as consistent as possible doing something like that. I know we've talked a lot about bringing people on to help take off some of the smaller kind of tasks that you might have so that you can focus on more strategy and things around that. We've talked a lot about the things that you have to do every single day. Cassie brought up a great point. She said, documenting processes as you build them, SOPs, so standard operating procedures, it helps you offload more efficiently. I love a good SOP. So I love that Cassie brought this up, because you might build up muscle memory, right? And then it's just in your head, things that you have to do. And that's what's the challenging part when you're trying to onboard someone to help you with these tasks. But if you just put it in an SOP and then give it to someone, it's almost like you there are training them in the form of a document. But Lou, when people are starting out, maybe they haven't, even gotten to an SOP kind of standard, right? They haven't started at all. What are some tools that solopreneurs should really just start looking into when they start? Tools and resources just to get started. Do you have any suggestions around those?
I can't even spell SOP, let alone know what it's like. I've been doing this 20 years. I have no SOP. It's funny. Like I'll do interviews. People are like, so how long do you plan for your shows in advance? Like how many weeks out do you have your shows recorded? And I'm like, well, usually on Sunday I'm running around trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about that night and seeing who's available to come in as a guest and record, because I'm spinning so many plates at once. I don't, my standard is that I don't have a standard operating procedure. And I think to your question, Connor, about the tools and things like that, I think sometimes you have to be careful, because I think we get caught up too much on looking for the silver bullet, the magic wand, the thing that's going to oh, if I learn how to use Notion, everything's going to be perfect. It's all and I see people that sort of bounce from tool to tool to tool. They go through the process, they learn it, they move all their stuff from Evernote to Notion, they move from Notion to Trello, and now they've spent 3 months just basically moving their data from place to place, but they haven't moved their business forward at all. And it's this, we have the perception that we're busy, but we're really not getting anything done. And I think we sometimes are fooling ourselves, either purposefully or subconsciously. Just because you're busy, it doesn't mean that you are advancing in your business. So I actually I don't think that tools are necessarily the most important thing in the world. I have very few tools in my tool belt that I feel are critical. So for me, my life lives on Evernote. I know people love Notion. I've been using Evernote since it very first came out. It works for me. I don't need to spend the time to learn something else, right? Look, I am an Ecamm evangelist, because same thing. I love Ecamm. I love Riverside. So I think the fewer, more powerful tools you have in your tool belt, the better, rather than saying, well, look, here's all the 30 different tools I use to run my business. No, you're using these tools to just use the tools, and your business isn't necessarily moving forward.
I think
Sometimes the best thing you can get is somebody else to help you.
right. The only reason I moved from Evernote is because Bending Spoons bought them, and they destroy companies. So that's why I moved.
Dude, say it to me all the time, and you're freaking me out, man.
You can export out of Evernote into Notion. I'm just saying. Cassie, they just bought StreamYard. That'll tell you something. So Cassie says this: it's really easy to turn with AI now to turn podcast content into blog posts, social content. Lots of work up front, but goes a long way. I think there's some tools we're going to have. Like we're going to have if you're doing live video, you got to have some sort of way to do that, right? If you're doing a podcast, you've got to have one of the editing tools to edit the show with. I think it's going to be you're going to have an AI thing to help you split up clips. Like if you're going to repurpose. And like I know you mentioned Riverside does that. Descript does that for me. Opus Clips is another one that a lot of people use. So it's not so much an exact tool, but I think it's going to be a thing that you'll need to help market your show. Just like, you have to have an editor for doing audio. And I think sticking with that tool, like you were saying, Lou, I am very guilty of like, maybe this will make me be more productive, and then, so I'm in my old age, I'm trying to pull back and like stick like, okay, yes, that's new, but this is going to have it eventually. I can, not just be bouncing around.
That's what I mean, though. Sometimes the tool is a person. And what I mean by that is when you realize, hey, I want to do more stuff with, cutting up clips and editing video and doing transcription. Maybe instead of you saying, all right, well, I need to now sit down and figure out how to use Descript, which is amazing, but it's a bit of a beast, right? There's a lot to it. Maybe you don't want to become a video editor. Maybe you're not a copywriter or a marketer or don't know how to run a Facebook ad. Like you shouldn't for me, I don't want to take a course on how to run a Facebook ad. I'd rather find somebody who's really good at running Facebook ads. Cassie is a great example. Like Cassie has helped me with a lot of different things that have helped me move from like square zero to like completion, rather than me trying to figure out how to do all the things that Cassie is really good at doing. She has been able to execute on, and forgive me for sort of, calling out by name, but you don't necessarily have to have a ton of people, a huge team, huge expense, or a ton of time to learn all of these different tools and platforms. It's a matter of getting help in the way that you are most comfortable receiving or using it.
And this is kind of a preview to what we'll talk about next, but one of the things that helped me was like going to Momentum and being able to meet Paul Gowder and Connor, and I'm like, crud, I need to do my email. I had a list and it was just whatever, and then I started using AI, and then I'm like, everyone's using AI, I need to quit using AI and actually write it myself, and started doing that this year, and it skyrocketed because of Paul. And so sometimes it's like a tool is even a conference or a person that you meet that comes and gets in your corner and helps you out. So don't be scared to go to those things and use those as opportunities. Just don't go there and take notes and don't do anything with it. Paul and I hit it off, and like he helped me so much, and Connor is the same way, got on the show. And so don't be scared to use and find people in your space and ask for help, because that's the only thing that's helped me is I can talk people into doing things for me. Mike says this is a great question. What's a tip to help filter out so much of the negativity from others who actually want to see you fail when you're starting out?
Mike, I'm gonna tell you the 3 words that I have basically lived by since I started this, and forgive the ignore the idiots. Like ignore the idiots. I don't pay attention to that. To people that don't know who you are, that don't know what you're doing, that maybe are jealous or envious of what you are. Like surround yourself by people that lift you up. Like I think I'm friends with Jeff and Connor because they say nice things about me. Like that's it. It's really very self-serving, but it also helps me filter out all of the negativity. And you're like, well, wait, Lou, like you talk about Disney, everybody's happy and positive. Really? Go check out Disney on X. You might see a very different side. And it's hard, right? Because we take these things very personally, and you're like, well, wait, if this one person doesn't like what I'm doing, maybe there's other persons. You can't like focus on the positive, right? It's why community is so important, because it does help you like weed out all that stuff, because sometimes they're just out there to bring you down. Like people don't necessarily want to see you succeed because maybe you're doing something that they can't do or don't know how to do, or for one reason or another are just jealous of what you were doing. So it's sometimes easier said than done, but you have to just tune it out and don't respond. Do not respond, because that's as soon as you respond, you lose, because that's what they want, right? As soon as you respond, they know that they've got you because they've gotten under your skin, which is all they want. And you're arguing in something that you just can't win because you've lost already just by engaging them.
And once
So
again,
Connor, that's why I don't respond to Connor's text messages.
One of the things is that having, and I keep harping on this, but it has made such a difference, is having those people around you that when you hear those lies that you can go to and go, man, this guy just said this. I know it's not true, but it's bothering me. Like I've done that with Ian like 3 days ago. And so he's a guy I can go to and he's like, no, he's being an idiot. Like, don't worry about it. And sometimes that's all you need to move on. So I'm telling you, go to these events, find your masterminds, find your people, and it makes a huge difference in your business that sometimes you don't even think about. Go ahead, Connor.
And surround yourself by people who are smarter than you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
clearly,
which is very easy for the three of us. So.
Low bar. Yeah.
My friend and I were talking about this the other day, and he said something great. He's like, when it comes to the haters or the people that want to see you fail, or people who aren't using your business or saying that'll never work, let them. Just think of that. Let them. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter, right? If you just say, let them do it. Who cares, right? And it's almost like you need some sort of mantra when you do see, something that tries to get under your skin. Just say, let them, and you let it pass. It comes over you like a wash. So I've been starting to do that. Anytime I see that, I'm like, you know what? Let them. Who cares? Worry about something else, because God knows I have plenty of other things to worry about.
I think if you have haters, you're doing something right. If you have haters, you're doing something right, because it means that they're paying attention to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Embrace the haters.
Yeah. Hug your haters is what Jay Bear says.
Hug your haters.
Yeah.
So what about sustaining yourself and also growing a solopreneur business? When it comes to that, I would assume that passion plays a huge role in it. Like you said, Lou, you work 80, 100 hours a week, so you don't have to work 40 hours a week. And that's probably a majority of it backed by passion. So in your course, according to your course, what can people kind of learn from it when it comes to sustaining themselves, growing their business, and also avoiding that burnout?
That's the hard part, right? All the things you said are 100% true. And passion over the last few years, I think, has become sort of a marketing buzzword, right? It's become, and there's courses on finding your passion. And I think you should know, to a certain degree, we should know what our passion is. And I oftentimes will give people very simple exercises, like just writing down some of the stuff that they love doing, right? So, and then looking at the things that you can imagine yourself doing every single day, because you want that intersection of the things that you love and the things that you're good at. And hopefully there's an intersection of things that people actually want from you. You might be the best, whittler in the world, but maybe there's not a big market for whittled wood. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that Jeff does. But whatever that thing is, it's true, man, because otherwise it ends up being a job again, right? It ends up feeling like work, and you're right back to square one. Except now that you're the captain of your own ship and you're spinning all these plates and trying to figure out how to feed your family a couple times a week. So it does have to be your why, and your passion has to be if you want to get out of doing your 9-to-5 job for whatever reason, and you want to build your own business, the only way I think you're going to be successful is if there's a true, sincere, authentic passion for the thing that you love, that you want to turn into a business.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you talk about, wanting to leave your 9-to-5, because Lindsay asked another great question here too, that I think a lot of people struggle with, especially with being a solopreneur and starting something. She says, can you talk about having the confidence to go all in on your business and leaving your full-time job? What do you got, Lou? Give us some wisdom around this.
Right. So I was just talking to somebody yesterday about, the whole imposter syndrome, right? There's imposter syndrome. There's the fear of failure. There's the risks of taking a leap of faith, whether you are a true solopreneur or you are a solopreneur that has other mouths to feed and other bills to pay. I talk about taking the leap of faith, but making sure you have, a parachute underneath you. Like when I decided to give this Disney thing a go and sold my house and brought money to my closing and moved to a rented house in Florida that I had never even seen before. Like that was a massive leap of faith where I said, all right, if I want to give this a true shot, and again, this is a bit of an extreme measure, but the point I'm trying to make is you have to be willing to do. If you asked me then and asked me now, what do I do for a living? The answer I'm going to give you is whatever it takes. And it's not like a BS answer. Like I knew that if I would, when I moved down to Florida, I had a few months cushion of money saved up so I could truly devote my time and attention to trying to build this business as a business. And look, if it didn't work and if the bills were trying, like I would do whatever I had to do, and not to take anything away. Like I was ready to go work at Best Buy or go sweep floors or whatever it is to make sure I can still try and build this business, but that my family could eat and the rent got paid. And I think that you have to be willing to do those things and make those sacrifices and take very calculated risks and leap of faith in order to sort of get your business and eventually your life to the next level.
Yeah, that's and sometimes you're doing that. You can work on your business and like have clients and still be working, that's still not what you want to do. Like you can still be like, I'm doing this work right now until I can get enough people buying my course or doing whatever. So there's different flavors, I think, of being a solopreneur / entrepreneurs, because, some people maybe have to take those clients before they can go in. There's a lot of people that I've talked to and interviewed where they built it up. Like, they were a podcast editor for so long until they sold their podcasting software or something that they were building that whole time. So those kind of things. I was
practicing law and had an IT consulting company going on at the exact same time when I first started this Disney side of my business. So
yeah, it can be done. So
yeah, it can be.
A couple of questions. First of all, just some comments from Sean says, I never am comfortable on video, and yet I keep going, and I'm enjoying the learning curve for shooting and editing video. That is awesome. And David asked this question.
I know Sean does a great job, by the way. Sean's doing good stuff. Yeah.
That's cool. David says, suggestions to break through crowded spaces where other podcasters are talking about the same things or the same genres.
It's why you, right? So why do you, look, use Disney. I mean, Disney is now a very crowded space in the podcasting. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Don't pay attention to what anybody else is doing. Don't base what you're doing based on so I've said this, and this is for 20 years. I don't listen to any other Disney podcasts. I don't. It's not because I don't like a lot of those people and respect them and think. It's one, I don't have time. Two, if I am listening to podcasts, I'm usually listening to something that's like business related. And three, I never want to be influenced by what somebody else is doing or have anybody else say, hey, you just copied that idea from so-and-so. Well, I can't because I don't listen. It's the blinders, Dave, right? It's the blinders. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Figure out what makes you different. Answer the question, why should I listen to you as opposed to the 8,000 other Disney podcasts that are out there? And I think, especially for podcasting, there's a lot of people, it's like the 5 o'clock news, right? There's a lot of stations talking about that they want to listen to, right? You want people to fall in love, not with your brand, but with you individually. And I think that's the thing that you've got to concentrate on most.
Very good. One of the things that I wanted to bring up too, when we were talking about getting past the people who don't believe in you or have negative comments, I love this. And Eden's coming on the show in a couple of weeks. She goes, I love saying this show is sponsored by the haters. And then Chris said, it's fueled by haterade. So I love those. Those are best. And this next comment from Mr. Fred is going to be a perfect way we wrap up the show, because I want to talk about momentum. And he goes, momentum has become that place, my corner, when we were talking about the people supporting us. And he says, momentum has been that place. Mr. Fred met him at Momentum as well. So let's talk on these final minutes, Lou, about momentum and, what it is, how people can go, when is it, all the things. So tell us about momentum and what makes it unique.
So very quickly, Momentum is a 3-day one room, one track, 50-person event where I think unlike other conferences, it's not just about coming in there and taking notes and then hopefully going back and then figuring out what to do with all the knowledge that you received. It's about doing the work in the room, right? Every session is a workshop. There's ways that we have built in to help you find your people and network with other people, get your questions and challenges and answers solved. And I want you to you come out of Momentum different on Sunday night than when you entered in on Friday. It takes place in the fall every year in Walt Disney World. Yes, it's during Food and Wine Festival, just saying. September 27th through the 29th. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's an optional 8-person mastermind day on Monday if you want to do a much deeper dive into you and your business and your life and your goals and your plans and things like that. But as somebody who continues to attend, and I love going to conferences, but I hate leaving with just the notebook full of ideas, I really want people to do the work in a very concentrated, warm, welcoming, friendly environment with learning from people like you guys who have walked the walk and are so generous with your time in terms of wanting to help other people advance what they're doing as well.
I absolutely love Momentum. It's changed my life professionally, personally. I've met incredible people. I recommend it to everyone. I will always be a Momentum evangelist, and I kind of live my life by, oh, that year was this momentum. Oh, that year was this momentum. It's a way to tell the time of sorts. But I always look forward to what you talk about each and every year, what's going to be new. So, Lou, do you have any key topics or sessions you're planning or working that you can tease for people to look forward to when it comes to Momentum?
So I'm going to share, God willing, on Monday, I'm going to share the full list of speakers and sessions. What I will tell you is that this year I am really hyper focused on, look, this is a business, right? And, I remember when podcasting first started, you weren't supposed to make money. You're supposed to just do it for the love of the hobby. Let's be honest, our family's got to eat. I have 2 kids in college. So there's a number of the sessions are going to be about real, actual, you're going to do the work in the room that's going to help you build something that by the time that you get out, you will be done or almost done to have this product, to have this service, to have something that you can start generating revenue from, because I think everybody has some of these in them, whether it is a course, whether it is a book, whether it is other ways to monetize what you do. There's a lot of, every session is very practical, very tactical. There's not a lot of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, there's not a lot of like woo-woo type of stuff at Momentum where you're oh, that was super inspiring, but I didn't really learn anything. I want you to learn in every single session and have something to take away. And it's also very interactive too. Momentum, you are not just going to sit there passively, I promise. And that's not a bad thing.
And that's hard not to do after you've been to Food and Wine, because you're but seriously, it's if you've watched this show or you subscribe to the podcast and are listening to this, a lot of the guests and people who I have on who are experts, I have either met or they've been speakers at Momentum. So there's 2 events that I'll go to every year. It's eCam's Creator Camp, which the first one was last year. It was amazing. And Momentum. Until they kick me out, I'll be going to it. But it is really that life-changing. Once again, go to LouMongello.com and sign up for Momentum Camp. I mean, we've already got people here who have been saying, like Angela says, Momentum has pushed my business and confidence to levels I've never imagined. It's on, if it's on your radar, you need to register as soon as possible. Corey's saying Momentum is worth it from the very first minute. Rich is saying, highly recommend Momentum. The people, it's changed my trajectory in amazing ways. So, I mean, I didn't pay them. Did I? No, I didn't pay them to. Lou did. He paid them to say it. But really, it is that great of an event. And, I know Lou doesn't make a ton of money off of it, but it's in Florida. And it does really help people. Even Cassie did a great one on doing a media kit last year. That was awesome. So she says, fantastic event filled with game-changing strategies and the best people ever. So anyway, don't forget.
I will break news. I'll break news right here.
Okay.
I have 2 very special speakers coming in this year after months and months of negotiation. It was the writers for these 2 speaker agreements were just insane.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about you guys. Oh, no, I am talking about you guys.
Oh,
Jeff and
yeah.
Connor are going to be back again presenting at Momentum. We've already started talking about your guys' topics, and we'll share, like I said, on Monday. So I'm on. Look, Momentum doesn't happen without you. I'm a facilitator, and you were such a big part of that. And you know what? I just thought about this, and I can do it like as soon as we're done. If you want, Jeff, I could even make like a special super duper discount code for folks who are watching, not for you, Connor, for everybody else other than Connor. So I'll make a special code. If you use code Jeff200, you can save $200 off of Momentum.
Wow.
Jeff 200. You've heard it there first, folks. And I'll push that to. By the way, sign up for my newsletter, because next week I'll make sure that I drop that in. You can go to jeffc.com/news. Emails come out Tuesdays and Fridays, and you can see how they've improved since I started listening to Paul Gowder, who spoke at Momentum and is a great email marketer, and Connor as well spoke on that topic. So, yeah, it's amazing. You guys need to show up and be there. This has been awesome. Don't forget about the amazing Creator Camp. And once again, you can go to jeffc.com/win to register for the chance to win a ticket to Creator Camp. Make sure that you sign up for Lou's course. Let me take all these things off. I've got too many buttons. Launch your dream business in 5 days. The blueprint for solopreneur success. It's only $7. You can get it at loumongello.com. Make sure you check that out. And our friends at Ecamm are having that sale. Remember, I have so many buttons that I'm just going crazy. Make sure you go to ecamm.com/Jeff. Use the code I mentioned earlier. That'll get you 30% off. I'll also put that in the email if you sign up for that. ecamm.com/Jeff. And the secret code for this week for the extra drawings is V8SOOK. V8 SOAK. So go check that out. Connor, where can people find out about you? What do you have going on?
That was a very unpleasant code, by the way.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yikes.
Yeah.
You can learn more about me at vacationkingdoms.com. We've relaunched the podcast, have a couple different shows on the Vacation Kingdoms podcast network. Check it out.
Yes. That's Rich goes, Jeff 200. Ironically, the same name as Jeff's latest AI generated imaginary friend. I have so many of them. That's why it was 200. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for tuning in. All your great questions. Thank you, Cassie, Rich, Fred, Corey, everybody who left amazing comments across the socials. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.